heart of African wilderness, beyond the golden savannas and beneath mountains covered with endless green forest, there was a forgotten valley called Mawimbi Valley. The valley was home to many peaceful villages. The people planted crops, danced under the moonlight, and told stories around warm fires. But one day, a terrible shadow entered their lives. From the mist mountains came a giant unlike any other they have ever seen before. His name was Gorom. Was taller than the tallest trees, with feet that shocked the earth whenever he walked. His voice sounded like thunder rolling across the sky, and his eyes glowed like burning stars in the darkness. The villagers lived in fear because Gorom had one strange habit. Every few moons, he would walk down from the mountains and enter a village. He would look at the children playing, pick them up gently with enormous hands, and swallow them whole. The villagers screamed and ran. "Where are you taking our children?" they said. But the giant never answered. One by one, village after village lost their children. The song of laughter disappeared. The playgrounds became silent. The villages became places of sadness, where parents stared at empty beds and wondered if they ever see their children again. People called him the child-eating monster from Mawimbi Valley. For many years, nobody was brave enough to ever challenge him. In the village of Kijani Hills, there lived a legendary warrior called Jabari. Jabari was known across the land as the greatest swordsman of his generation. He had defeated wild beasts, protected travelers from bandits, and defended his village from enemies. But despite his strength, there was one thing more precious to him than anything else: his son Kato. Kato was a curious boy who dreamed of becoming a warrior like his father. Every evening, Jabari trained him with a wooden sword. A true warrior does not fight because he hates, Jabari always told him. A true warrior fights because he protects those who cannot protect themselves. One night, while the village celebrated the harvest festive, darkness covered the moon. The ground began shaking. Boom, boom, boom. The villagers froze. "The giant!" someone shouted. Gorom entered Kijani Hills. The warriors attacked, but the giant was too powerful. Jabari then saw something that shattered his heart. The giant reached down and picked up Kato. "No!" Jabari screamed. He ran towards the giant, but the powerful wind from Gorom's hand threw him to the ground. The giant swallowed Kato and disappeared in the darkness. For the first time in his life, the great warrior fell down to his knees. His sword slipped from his hands. His heart was broken. For 7 days, 7 nights, Jabari did not speak. He sat beside his son's empty bed, holding Kato's wooden sword. But on the 8th morning, something changed. His sadness became determination. "I will not rest until I bring my son home," he said. Jabari began preparing a plan unlike any battle he has ever fought before. He knew he could not defeat the giant with strength alone. He studied Gorom's movement. He followed the giant's enormous footprints through the forest, river, and mountains. He discovered something surprising. The giant always returned to an abandoned valley where he lived alone inside a massive stone cave. Jabari created his plan. First, he gathered the strongest ropes. Then he asked the village blacksmith to create hundreds of giant metal hooks. He dug a massive hidden pit near the giant's cave and covered it with branches and leaves. Inside the pit, he placed glowing stones that looked like magic treasures. He knew the giant loved collecting shiny objects. Finally, he sharpened his legendary sword, Mwezi Fag, a blade said to be created from the fallen stars. "The giant took my son," Jabari whispered. "Tomorrow I will take everything from him." The next morning, Jabari entered the giant's valley alone. "Gorom!" he shouted. The mountain echoed his voice. The giant appeared. "So, at tiny human comes to challenge me?" Gorom laughed. "I am here to challenge you," Jabari replied. "I am here to take back what you stole." The giant became angry and charged. The earth began shaking. But Jabari was ready. He jumped between rocks, avoiding the giant's footsteps. The giant chased him towards the hidden pit. Suddenly, crack! The earth collapsed. Gorom fell into the trap. The giant tried climbing out, but pulled the strong ropes. The metal hooks wrapped around Gorom's arms and legs, holding him tightly. The giant screamed. The mountains trembled, but Jabari stood firm. "You took hundreds of children from their families," Jabari said. "Today, you answer for your actions." The giant struggled, but the warrior climbed into the giant's chest, raised his sword, and struck. The magic blade pierced the giant's heart. Gorom became silent. The valley became still. The terrible giant had finally fallen. Jabari stood over the giant, expecting to find only darkness. He thought he had saved his only son, but then he heard something, a laughter, a child's laugh. He looked closer. A strange glowing light came from the inside of the giant. "What is this?" Jabari whispered. Suddenly, the giant's body began disappearing like smoke, revealing a magic chamber inside him. And there they were, hundreds of children. Kato, the children from Kijani Hills, the children from every village, they were all alive, healthy, playing, laughing. Jabari couldn't believe his eyes. How is this possible? The children ran towards him. "Father," Kato hugged him tightly. Tears filled Jabari's eyes. As the giant's life faded away, his huge eyes opened. Jabari raised his sword, but the giant did not attack. Instead, tears rolled down his enormous face. "Warrior," Gorom whispered, "I know you hate me. You have every reason to. But before I leave this world, please know the truth." Jabari listened. "I never wanted to hurt the children." The warrior looked confused. "Then why did you take them?" The giant looked towards the empty mountains. "Because I was alone. For hundreds of years, I lived in this cold valley with nobody to speak to, nobody to laugh with, nobody who needed me. My heart became empty. When I saw the children, I felt something I had forgotten. Love. I swallowed them because my body was different. I had no stomach that could digest anything. Inside, it was a magic, safe place where the children could live. I wanted to protect them, but I was too afraid to tell humans the truth. I became a monster because nobody knew my loneliness." Jabari lowered his sword. The anger in his heart disappeared. The giant smiled sadly. "Thank you for freeing me and freeing them." Then Gorom closed his eyes. The great giant of Mawimbi Valley was gone. The children returned to their villages. The valley was filled with celebration again. But the story was never told as simple. The warrior who killed the giant. The elders told a deeper story. They told the story of a warrior who fought with anger but discovered compassion. They told the story of a giant who looked like a monster but carried a lone heart. And they told future generations, never judge a heart by its appearance. Sometimes the biggest monsters are the only people who have been alone for too long. And from that day forward, Mawimbi Valley was no longer known as the land of fear. It became known as the valley where the giant learned to love. The end.